tried watching the 1 versus 20 Christian versus a New Ager, but like I turned it off with like 5 minutes in because to me it just felt like the New Ager, the New Ager just was like trying to be understood by the Christians and make them understand spirituality. When like to me, that's not how it's supposed to go, you know. So this take me back into like the early phases of just learning spirituality, different systems, different books, right? What I noticed as I was reading these books and shit was like this huge discomfort, right? This huge discomfort. And what was that discomfort, right? That discomfort was my old belief, which is Christianity, in that condition versus this new information I'm receiving, right? And in receiving this, it was causing an inner friction within myself, right? And this friction lasted for like at least a year, right? And I always wanted it to just stop, but it was part of the process to make it stop, right? So what I'm saying is the problem isn't Christianity. The problem is you versus your conditioned self in this new knowledge you have to battle within yourself, right? So you don't necessarily have to read these books to go out and win a debate against anyone. What you have to do is read these books to satisfy the part of you that's still conditioned. So it's a battlefield within yourself as you read these books and gather information about spirituality, right? Right. So the more I did this, right, then I started to incorporate other spiritual practices as mantra chanting, right? But at this phase, I was still battling inside myself. So when certain things started to happen, the Christian belief in the mentality started to come back in, right? Like, right, the early experiences of me chanting mantras and I'm starting to sway with the mantra, like that came in and I was like, oh, these demons and shit. But I had such a big library and collection of books, right? So I read this book right here. I got it right on. I read this book right here. Kundalini, The Arousal of the Inner Energy by Ajit Mikaru, right? As I read this shit, I already read it before any of this. I already read it and I'm like, oh, this like Kundalini experiences. That was me like satisfying my intellect. You understand? Satisfying like the egotistical side, the programming, the Christian beliefs, right? And I was doing this constantly, just reading and shit. So like now I'm satisfied. I even did a ritual though. In this ritual, I was in my Kali Sadhana, like hard. And I just drew this picture of Kali, right? And I drew this picture of Jesus, and then I burnt it, and I wrote a mantra on it, right? And then it just faded out my way. So, like, it's essential that you build that solid foundation within yourself before you try to, like, become, like, some type of spiritual teacher, a content creator, and, like, try to disband Christianity when you don't have the knowing built, the trust in yourself, the experiences to, like, counteract this. Where else, if an experienced Christian man come to you, you probably a fold because he's so convicted in his belief that you can't compete with that. But when you reading this, you're not doing it to compete with no one. You're doing it for yourself, right? So don't let this knowledge go to here, right? Let it go to here, right? So you can move from here. You understand? So it's not 1 versus 20. It's 1 versus self, right? It's the conditioned self versus the new self. Understand? Not a battle between I'm spiritual, you Christian and Muslim. It's not that, right? It's you and your truth. Nothing more, nothing less. So, hope this helps. True knowledge liberates. False knowledge breeds fear and confusion. Only you can liberate you.